When a Google product manager showed me smart bidding exploration in Mountain View, that product manager called it the biggest smart bidding update ever. And honestly, I actually think she might be right. I was invited by Jenny Marvin as a one group of 15 PPC influencers to sit down with product managers to discuss the newest features, amongst other things. And after several months of working with smart bidding exploration, we can now draw some meaningful conclusions about its optimal implementation. So today we'll go through the key differences between just lowering your ROAS target and enabling smart bidding exploration, how to analyze the impact of smart bidding exploration, when to implement it, and how to effectively actually use it. Now, let's start with the key difference between smart bidding exploration versus just lowering your ROAS. So when you're lowering your ROAS, so when you change the target, what you basically do is that you're increasing all your bids to try to get more volume. What smart bidding is trying to do is trying to explore for new queries. So it looks at how much ROAS headroom do you have. So it looks at between what is the ROAS target you have and what's your actual ROAS. The more headroom there is between these two metrics, the more smart bidding will try to explore. Now, we used to have to lower our ROAS target to trigger an exploration mode. However, with smart bidding exploration, we can tell it, don't increase the bids for our existing auctions. All the existing search query categories that we're in, don't increase the bids there. However, go in and increase the bids for new queries to use 10%, 20%, 30% of the budget, or not the budget, of the ROAS, that technically results in the budget, but take that and go spend it in finding new queries. Now, when you're implementing smart bidding exploration, it means that it will lower your total ROAS from the campaign or bid strategy that you're enabling in it. Again, you can set it to 10%, 20%, or 30%. So if you used to hit 500% ROAS with a $10,000 spend, then now you're going to hit 450% ROAS. Now you're going to hit 350% ROAS after you implement 10 or 30% smart bidding exploration. Now, it's not obviously the new queries are expected to hit something. We're supposed to get some additional conversion value out of it, and there's not like a linear drop, and typically this works pretty well, but just be prepared that it can happen that you get absolutely nothing out of new search queries. So make sure that you pick a smart bidding exploration percentage that you can afford to let run for 2 to 3 weeks. It's not worth setting up smart bidding explorations if you're going to freak out after 3 days because you're overly aggressive and like, oh, just go crazy, go find new queries, and you apply 30%. The higher your target, the more impact you'll get from a 10% adjustment. I have run 10% and I've actually gotten pretty good results from it. Overall, maybe 10% is not going to do that much, but don't think of it as when you used to change targets. When you used to change a target by 10%, not a lot happens because some of the new ROAS headroom goes to increasing bids for existing queries. That's why when you enable smart bidding exploration with only a 10% adjustment, that means that it can in effect hit a 10% lower ROAS and use that entire new part of the budget or ROAS headroom to go chase new queries. And that's why it's super powerful. Now, there are a couple of different ways to implement it. One way is to go into your search campaign settings, go into your bidding, and then see smart bidding exploration. And this is where you can click it, and then you can say 10, 20, 30, you can even put 17 if you want to. Now, it says specifically your effective target ROAS is 430%. It's really nice that they're showing this. I love it. The second place, and the place that I will usually make these changes, is within our portfolio bid strategies. So again, in your search structure, you can go in and you can go down to settings, click on advanced option, click on allow smart bidding, and then we have the same thing. It's really, really cool, and it works really, really well. Now, let me show you how to analyze it. So let me go in, let me take over the summer, because this is what was a case where we went in and we implemented smart bidding exploration over the summer. So the green portion is when we actually had smart bidding exploration applied. And this is one of the cool things. So I'm just going to lower it to the time period that actually matters. Whenever we start a new account, or whenever we get into a high season right before, we will lower our target ROAS because I don't want to just depend on smart bidding exploration, and also it was quite new. So I wanted to make sure that we try to lower our ROAS target, and we did. And the idea is that you then go in and say traffic diversity. And you say, okay, how many unique search categories with clicks? I like clicks. Conversions can be not that much data, but clicks is where we see, okay, how much further out does it get? And you can see as we implement the smart bidding exploration and we lower the ROAS target, it actually starts increasing from around 839 search categories with clicks to up to 1400. That's great. Now, it's also going to do this during peak season by itself, so take that with a grain of salt. But this basically proves that it works. Now, what we do during a peak season is that we lower the ROAS target and then we start increasing it as we get towards the end of the peak, because then we want to make sure there's not that much exploration happening towards the ends. We just want to get some more. And in this case, we had explorations turned on anyways. So as you can see, as we do this, and as you can see before, it continues to actually have, even as we increase the target ROAS, it increases the unique search categories with clicks. So that was nice. It does what it's supposed to do. As we remove it, you can see we also increase the target ROAS. We remove it, and you can see that the unique search queries go down to the same level as before the peak, and that's what to be expected, and it doesn't work anymore. Even as we got a little bit too high on the ROAS target as we went out of peak, but then even as we're actually having decent ROAS target compared to before, it's still remaining low because we have not enabled smart bidding exploration again. This analysis is actually also doable in accounts where you don't have the ability to run smart bidding exploration or when you haven't done it. So if you just go into the last 30 days, you can even here see how smart bidding exploration is doing with unique search categories. And it's amazing. I love this thing. It explains so many things when I look at it. So just this addition as at least to smart bidding reporting is amazing. Now, when it comes to timing for when to implement smart bidding exploration, I believe that it should be done strategically throughout the year on 3 main occasions. Number one, when peak season starts. That's what I just showed you. I think it's number one thing you're supposed to do is right before peak season or when peak season starts, launch your smart bidding exploration. 10 or 20%, like you can see before, just with a 10% smart bidding exploration, we saw a pretty big effect. The second one is during a big sale. It's not something I've tried that much, so I can't be 100% consistent saying that it will always work, but it's something that I just theoretically think can work. And the 4 times I've tried it so far, it's been really, really successful. So I think it works. If you are the kind of business that are adding new categories and constantly changing things in your account, I think you can basically use it 3 to 6 times throughout the year. That doesn't have to be that strategic, but just try to teach smart bidding that there are new queries out there. It's especially powerful is if you have a pretty high ROAS target, so you don't get a lot of exploration throughout the year, and then you tell it, go explore. Then it will be powerful. Because what we're basically telling smart bidding is go explore to find new queries that we don't bid for today. There's a couple things that we don't, a couple scenarios where we don't use smart bidding exploration where I think you shouldn't do it. If you have a 90% plus impression share, you should probably not use it. There's probably not that many more queries to attack. The second thing, if you have consistently low ROAS targets, then Google Smart Bidding is already exploring and is usually not needed to run smart bidding exploration. Obviously, if you have no more budget to spend, then it's a really bad idea. Now, there's still a couple different things. Again, low season, after a sale, etc. There are times where your performance is low anyways due to the market you're in. Think diet supplements in December or swimwear in September. Like, it will not solve a low demand problem in general. So when it comes to strategy and implementation best practices, I like to use it in short bursts. Think of smart bidding exploration as a sprint, not a marathon. Make sure you have a clear time frame. Run it 2 to 3 weeks minimum, but don't leave it on past 6 weeks. Tie it back to a timing section. Align bursts with a peak season, with a sale, with a product launch, or when you've been running for quite a while at the same ROAS target. The second thing is make sure that there is a budget freedom. If you don't have the budget headroom, then you might just be able to trigger that same exploration phase by simply increasing the budget, and you don't need smart bidding exploration. My second note is that if you don't have any additional budget, you might not be able to take advantage of the new search queries. That's why I'm saying make sure you have budget freedom. Another implementation thing is when it comes to portfolios versus campaigns. You can strategically choose campaigns with broad match or other things when it comes to like that and say, okay, explore more here. I like portfolios. It joins everything together. So I would just typically recommend always do it with portfolios. The fourth thing I want you to do is just be careful with layering adjustments. So you can, for instance, if you have already running new customer acquisition where you add another 10 or 20% to the customer value, and you maybe also have some value rules running, and you add smart bidding exploration on top of that, it might be impossible to know what you're actually targeting. So be careful when you start layering adjustments. It was something we learned back in the day when we would layer location adjustments with audience adjustments, with device bidding adjustments. All of a sudden it started getting really confusing. So careful with layering smart bidding exploration with new customers, with value rules, etc. Number 5 is stick to the test. Don't judge it too early. It's just like if you did this manually. Smart bidding has to kiss a lot of frogs in order to find its prince or princess, no matter what you're for. So just be careful. Stick to the test. Make sure, like, okay, if it finds 10 new search categories you're supposed to be in, and 3 of them might convert, then those 7 will get thrown away after a while. Especially when you remove smart bidding exploration again, it will stick to the categories that actually got conversions. So in the end, was she right? I'd say smart bidding exploration really is the biggest addition that we've seen to smart bidding in the last 10 years. Try it out. You won't regret it.